Hello and welcome to G-Lens. Israel launched a surprise military strike on key parts of Iran's nuclear program and military. This strike reportedly killed top Iranian generals and scientists, with 78 people killed and over 320 injured. According to Iran's UN ambassador, Iran responded with a major counterattack. In retaliation, Iran launched drones and fired dozens of ballistic missiles at cities in Israel, including Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. These attacks killed at least 3 people in Israel and injured many more. Air raid sirens went off, and civilians were told to stay in shelters for several hours. Israel said it attacked because it believes Iran is getting too close to building a nuclear weapon. However, experts in the U.S. government have said that Iran was not actively working on a nuclear bomb at the time. This is a serious escalation in the long-standing tensions between Israel and Iran. Israel struck first, hitting Iran's nuclear and military sites. Iran retaliated, firing missiles at Israeli cities. Dozens have been killed and injured on both sides. The situation remains tense, and the risk of a wider conflict is high. Court rejects ex-JAM boss Orjarindy's attempt to stop 5.2 billion naira fraud trial. Thiber Orjarindi, the former head of JAM, Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, and NECO, National Examinations Council, is facing a trial over alleged fraud involving 5.2 billion naira. He was charged by the ICPC, Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, with 18 counts of corruption and fraud, including abuse of office and illegally taking government money for personal benefit. These alleged crimes occurred while he was the head of JAM and NECO. Orjarindi denied the charges in 2021. In 2022, he tried to reach a deal to admit guilt for a lighter punishment, but it didn't work out, so the trial continued. After the ICPC presented their witnesses and evidence, Orjarindy's lawyers filed a no-case submission, asking the court to end the trial, arguing that the prosecution had not proven any wrongdoing. The judge, Justice Obiora Eguartu, rejected Orjarindy's request to stop the trial. He said the prosecution had presented enough evidence to suggest that Orjarindy have committed the crimes. The court must now hear Orjarindy's side of the story. The court has ordered Orjarindy to defend himself against the charges. The case is adjourned until July 16th, when the hearing will continue. Donald Trump has commenced plans to place a general visa ban on Nigerians over corruption in President Bola Tinubu's government and poor intelligence sharing between the two countries, citing a State Department memo signed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The Washington Post on Saturday, 14th of June, listed 36 countries, including Nigeria, among those under scrutiny and consideration for visa restrictions to the U.S. The Trump administration cited a lack of government transparency and a proper database to freely vet the backgrounds of travelers from these countries as the reason for the incoming ban, amid efforts by the government in Washington to reduce immigration to the United States. Some countries had no competent or cooperative central government authority to produce reliable identity documents or other civil documents, or they suffered from widespread government fraud. Others had large numbers of citizens who overstayed their visas in the United States, the newspapers said. The memo, which was signed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio and sent Saturday, 14th of June, to U.S. diplomats who work with the countries, said the governments of listed nations were being given 60 days to meet new benchmarks and requirements established by the State Department. It set a deadline of 8 a.m. Wednesday for them to provide an initial action plan for meeting the requirements, the Post said. The planned travel ban followed similar restrictions placed on nationals from 12 countries: Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, the Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen, by the United States earlier this month. Like the previous proclamation, the majority of the countries under consideration for the next wave of travel restrictions, dubbed the Third World List, are African nations. Out of 36 countries on the list, 25 are from Africa, including Nigeria and America's 2 closest military allies on the continent, Egypt and Djibouti. Other countries facing possible travel restrictions include Angola, Antigua and Barbuda, Benin, Bhutan, Burkina Faso, Cabo Verde, Cambodia, Cameroon, Côte d'Ivoire, Democratic Republic of Congo, Dominica, Ethiopia, Gabon, Gambia, Ghana, Kyrgyzstan, Liberia, Malawi, Mauritania, Niger, St. Kitts and Nevis and St. Lucia, Sao Tome and Principe, Senegal, South Sudan, Syria, Tanzania, Tonga, Tuvalu, Uganda, Vanuatu, Zambia and Zimbabwe are also included in the list. Nigeria was placed under a similar ban during President Donald Trump's first term in office. However, he removed the restriction on the West African country after then-President Muhammadu Buhari ordered improvements to the country's immigration system to meet global standards. The inclusion of Nigeria among countries considered for a visa ban comes under Mr. Tinubu, a politician with sordid antecedents ranging from involvement in cocaine trafficking to an unresolved certificate scandal. It comes 6 months after People's Gazette reported Mr. Tinubu paid U.S. lobbyists 2.7 million naira to help burnish his image destroyed by drug dealing and certificate forgery scandals. A Nigerian man who lived in Ireland for 3 years was deported back to Nigeria last week by the Irish government. He says this has unfairly torn him away from his wife and 3 daughters, who were allowed to stay in Ireland because they are at risk of female genital mutilation, FGM, if sent back to Nigeria. He believed the government is using asylum seekers like him as scapegoats in response to anti-immigration protests and pressure from far-right groups. The man lived in Clondalkin, Dublin, and was a respected volunteer, even elected chairman of a local community garden. He says he was always involved in his family's life and is devastated to be separated from them. His wife is very sick and struggles to care for their daughters without him. Ireland deported 35 people to Nigeria on a special flight. Although his wife and children were saved from deportation at the last minute due to the danger they'd face, Rashid's legal team didn't have enough time to stop his removal. His lawyer argues the deportation broke international protection rules, especially since his family remains in Ireland and needs him. He's also now in danger in Nigeria because of his efforts to protect his daughters from FGM, which makes him a target in some communities. He might be allowed to return if the Irish government approves his wife's application to stay. Another legal option is being explored to fix what his lawyer calls a mistake in separating the family. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security has denied relying on prayers to tackle the country's food shortage, following public backlash over a circular that instructed staff to begin a 3-week prayer and fasting program. A circular from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security asked its staff to join a 3-week prayer and fasting program. The reason stated was to pray against hunger and ask for God's help in achieving food security in Nigeria. When this memo was made public, many Nigerians were upset. People criticized the government for using prayers instead of actual action to solve the country's serious food shortage. Some saw it as a sign that the government was not taking the crisis seriously, especially since many are already suffering from hunger caused by economic hardships. The ministry later explained that the prayer program was not an official government policy. Instead, it was a private, internal initiative by the ministry's Human Resources Department. They said it was meant to comfort staff, especially after several unexpected deaths of senior staff members. They compared it to other staff well-being activities, like gym sessions and medical checkups. That's it for now, but I will be back with more updates as the story develops. If you found this report helpful, don't forget to like, share, and comment with your thoughts. Subscribe and follow to stay updated on all the latest news. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.